Mill and Sill recorded themselves calling me a gold digger and played it at my own baby shower. I was incensed and informed them that my husband Thomas, 30, had secured the jobs that they had not earned. I am currently 27 weeks pregnant and my mother-in-law Donna, 55, and my sister-in-law Erica, 30, recently hosted a baby shower for me about a week ago. There are a couple of reasons why my mother-in-law and sister-in-law do not like me. My husband Thomas married me about a year ago and I subsequently left my job because I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother. My decision to remain at home was not motivated by a lack of desire to work. Rather, I had been working consistently for an extended period and felt the need for a respite. I commenced my professional career at the age of 16 and continued until I was married and had children. My father's sudden demise at the age of 12 from cardiac arrest prompted my mother to become a waitress at a local diner. Financial constraints necessitated my entry into the workforce, initially in a part-time capacity. At the age of 16, I began working part-time while still in high school. Despite my best efforts, I was unable to attend college. Fortunately, I was able to secure a position in sales, where I was able to generate sufficient income to support my mother and me. It was through this work that I met Thomas. We connected at a conference, and our relationship blossomed. Regrettably, while my life story of rags to riches might be intriguing to many, my mother-in-law and sister-in-law do not share this view. The law does not concur with this assessment, deeming me a gold digger. Thomas was a branch manager at his firm and held a position of greater authority than mine when we first met. However, this was not the primary factor that drew me to him. I have been unable to adequately convey to Donna and Erica that his financial status was not the sole determining factor in my affection for him. I would have married him even if he had been a pauper. I was aware of this. I recognized that they would never accept me, so I did not attempt to impress them or win them over. This only served to make me even more unpopular with them. In short, they did not like me, and I did not attempt to make them like me. As a result, we never got along. However, after I announced my pregnancy, the two of them suddenly began showing interest in my life. I surmised that this was because I was carrying. It appeared that Thomas's future child was the reason for their sudden interest in my life. They had previously avoided talking to me as much as possible and only showed courtesy when it was required. However, after the pregnancy announcement, they became very helpful and kind to me. Thomas believed that they were finally warming up to me, but I could tell that something was amiss. It was simply my sixth sense, but I could not explain it. It was not until after a couple of months had passed that I was able to fully trust them. At that point, I had not yet received any cruel actions or words from them. This led me to believe that they were attempting to make amends for past insults and digs. I had been accused of being a gold digger and of being with Thomas only for his money. As a result, I began to trust them and to view them as my well-wishers. I had come to view them as my well-wishers, a designation they were not entitled to. A couple of weeks ago, they inquired as to my well-being and, by that time, had established sufficient trust with me to proceed with a baby shower for me. I gave them a list of guests I wanted to be invited to the shower. My mother wanted to be involved in the planning, but Donna and Erica informed her that she was not needed. They informed me that they had assumed responsibility for the event and that I was not required to concern myself with the details. At that moment, I was not aware of any unusual circumstances. I presumed that they simply wished to maintain the surprise for me, which would have been compromised if my mother were involved. As time passed, I did not receive any further communication regarding the baby shower. I received an invitation to the event. I also contacted the guests I had invited and confirmed that they had received the invitation as well. I was therefore convinced that everything was proceeding according to plan and that I was happy with the arrangements. However, on the day of the event, I accidentally read the time wrong and arrived at the venue an hour early. The event was to be an all-women's event. The event was to be held in a traditional manner, which I was amenable to. My husband was not present, and I had to take a cab to the venue, as I was disinclined to drive once I arrived. Upon arrival, I discovered that I had arrived an hour early, as there were no vehicles in the parking lot apart from Donna's. I decided to surprise the organizers and ensured that I proceeded towards the doors in a discreet manner, attempting to avoid detection. Upon reaching the entrance, I peeked inside to observe their activities. I observed them engaged in the act of filming a video on a screen that they had set up. The video depicted the two individuals, laughing as they engaged in a mocking and disparaging discourse about me. It was evident that the video had been recorded at an earlier point in time. I returned to the scene of the crime because in the video Erica had blonde hair, which she only had around the time of my wedding. This led me to conclude that the video had probably been recorded at that time. I was horrified by the things that they were saying, and I was unable to believe that they were playing this in the place where they were supposed to host my baby shower. One of the things that Erica asserted that she was certain I would become pregnant within the first year of my marriage, thereby ensuring her brother's continued dependence on her. She further suggested that, even if he attempted to leave, would retain custody of the child and financial support. The two of them laughed at this suggestion in the video, as well as in real life. I was unable to take it anymore. I was unable to tolerate this further, so I decided to enter the room and confront them about the video. They were visibly startled by my appearance and attempted to stop sharing it on the screen. However, it was already too late. I had already seen everything that they did not want me to see. I inquired as to why they were playing the video and, when they had even recorded it, or why they had done so. They attempted to justify their actions by claiming that the video was a roast created for my wedding. However, they ultimately decided not to play it due to Thomas's threat to sever ties with them. This was a prudent decision, as I would have been unable to tolerate such a display at my wedding. It is evident that Rastsir intended to be humorous. It is only amusing when those one loves are the ones who roast one, rather than when one knows that the people saying terrible things about one actually mean those things. I was certain that Erica and Donna meant every single word of what they said in the video. They informed me that they had included the pregnancy joke so that they could play it. At the baby shower, they attempted to justify their actions by claiming that the video was intended to be a joke. However, they failed to consider the implications of their actions. They failed to recognize that Thomas could not have a say in this matter. Furthermore, they informed me that the video was created to demonstrate how they viewed me when I first married Thomas. They claimed that, as I had become a part of the family, they had accepted me. They even revealed that they had planned a speech to be delivered after the video. The video, which was to be played at the event, was to show how much the family loved me and how much I meant to them. The intention was to demonstrate the family's progress and acceptance of me. However, I did not believe this was the case and left the venue, calling Thomas to inform him of my decision and to request that he pick me up and take me home. I then proceeded to explain the situation to him in detail via telephone. He was already aware of the video in question and was able to comprehend my concerns promptly. Donna and Erica subsequently approached me, attempting to persuade me to remain. They implored me to forgive them, yet they failed to consider the emotional distress I would experience upon viewing the video. Their sole focus was on the sincerity of their intentions, yet they failed to recognize the impact their actions would have on me. It would appear that they had come to realize the foolishness of their actions, yet they continued to assure me that they had not intended to cause me any harm. However, this did not assuage my feelings of betrayal, given that I had placed my trust in them to organize my baby shower. The revelation that they had planned to play the video had completely shattered my confidence in them. I attempted to dissuade them from proceeding with their plan, but they were unyielding in their determination to proceed. I finally snapped and informed them that I was not interested in their proposed plan for the event. I had come to understand their true feelings towards me, and I was not inclined to believe them when they said that they would make a speech about their love for me. I also expressed my frustration that they had not recognized me as a person in my own right, and that I was not simply a carrier of a child. I informed them that I was not interested in their proposed arrangement because I was not willing to be defined by my role as a mother. I asserted that I was not simply a vessel for their approval and that our relationship could resume its previous state if they were unwilling to accept me as I was. I also informed them that neither of them would have achieved anything significant in life had it not been for my father's support. In conclusion, it can be stated that the law, who supported Donna, despite her lackluster performance at work and the imminent threat of termination. Her husband, however, intervened and secured her position as an accountant, thereby ensuring her continued employment without the necessity of exerting herself excessively. He also facilitated Erica's admission to the most prestigious business school in the city, despite her lack of academic qualifications. His connections were instrumental in securing her admission to both institutions, though neither of them was aware of this. Thomas and his father were the only ones who were aware of this, but he has divulged these family secrets to me on numerous occasions in an attempt to console me after particularly distressing experiences at his parents' house, where Donna and Erica were particularly unkind to me. Their expressions became noticeably more somber when I brought up this topic. They appeared even more disconcerted when I informed them that they had no reason to be so arrogant and proud, given that they would likely face similar challenges in their lives. If they had to endure the same struggles as I had, they would likely be less confident and assured in their lives. They had known it was particularly inappropriate for them to question me, given their own incompetence. Thomas pulled up, and I got into his car. We then left the venue without further discussion. They attempted to engage in conversation with me as I was leaving, but I rolled up my windows and drove away. Thomas had heard the final part of my outburst, in which I was berating them and discussing my father-in-law. He informed me that he believed it was inadvisable for me to reveal the circumstances to them. I did not respond to this, and he did not revisit the topic subsequently. The event itself had to be cancelled at the last minute, as I was not present and only my mother was aware of the true reason for this. My husband informed his relatives of the cancellation and, as a result, most of them were supportive of my actions. Erica and Donna were not among them, however, and they believed that I had acted incorrectly. In addition, I highlighted the fact that the two individuals in question had received considerable assistance, whereas I had not. Furthermore, I asserted that they were judging me because they had been born into a more privileged background and were therefore able to pass judgments on someone they knew nothing about. I did not hear from either of them for a couple of days, and when I did, Thomas did not discuss the matter further. He apologized to me on behalf of his family, but that was the extent of it. We did not discuss it again because, although I felt that my actions were not wrong, I recognized that they were not the cause of the problem. A couple of days ago, I received a letter from my father-in-law Raymond, and I typically had a cordial relationship. Unlike his wife and daughter, he did not harbor any significant issues with me. However, this time he was visibly enraged due to the secrets I had revealed to Donna and Erica. He asserted that it was not my place to divulge such information, particularly given that he had chosen to withhold it from them for so long. He justified this decision by citing their own self-interest. I had undone all the work that he had put in, and both of them were now totally miserable. I had decided to make them feel bad about themselves and get back at them. I attempted to defend myself by telling him what they had been planning to do. I believe that what I said was completely justified because they had been picking on me for years before I finally snapped. He told me that he could understand that I was upset, but that it was still not my place to bring that up. He was extremely disappointed in me. We have not spoken since then, and when I try to talk to Thomas about it, he says that he has nothing to say. I think he is dodging the question because he feels the same way as his father did when he told my mother and sister that they would be nothing without my father. He acknowledged my distress but asserted that it was not my place to bring up the matter. He expressed profound disillusionment with me. Since that time, we have not spoken. When I attempt to engage Thomas on the subject, he asserts that he has no comment to make. However, I believe he is evading the issue because he shares the same sentiments as his father, Ida, who informed my sons, Mill and Sil, that they would be nothing without my father. In conclusion, it is evident that Thomas is attempting to evade the issue at hand. I sought the counsel of a lawyer, who advised me that I should not apologize to Donna and Erica. I believe that I did not say anything out of line, but they have been picking on me ever since they met me. I finally decided to snap at them and let them know exactly what I thought of them. They cannot always get away with everything. They allege that Thomas and Raymond have engaged in a pattern of behavior that has caused them to feel bad about themselves over the years. There have been multiple instances where the two of them have collaborated to make me feel bad. However, this pattern of behavior is not being discussed, so why is it a significant issue if I engage in similar behavior toward them? I also informed Thomas of my feelings, as I sensed that he was in agreement with his father. My primary concern is not Raymond's opinion, but rather the need for my husband to be on my side. Thus far, he has consistently maintained the peace within the family by advising me to ignore the comments of his mother and sister. However, I believe that he should take a more active role in supporting me. I informed him that he must defend me as his wife, as I am entitled to his support. I told him that his diplomatic approach to our relationship with them is unfair to all of us and that he must choose a side. I was concerned that he would disagree with me or become angry with me over this, but he agreed wholeheartedly and even apologized to me. He acknowledged that he was reluctant to take a more assertive stance due to concerns about being isolated from the family. Despite his affection for them, he was apprehensive about challenging them directly. However, he has since recognized his obligation to advocate for me. Furthermore, he could not simply expect me to endure their actions without protest. It was not fair to me, and he has now decided to sever ties with his family. I was touched by his decision, as I understand the significance of family to him. However, I believe it is time for consequences to be imposed on Donna and Erica for their actions. Consequences must be imposed on Donna and Erica for their actions. I have not forgiven them for what I saw in the video, and they have not apologized to me or reached out to me after I left that day. I do not believe that they should do so, and I do not think that it will resolve the situation. In fact, I believe that it will likely intensify my feelings of anger. Some commentators have suggested that my reaction is disproportionate, given that the event was intended as a lighthearted celebration and that the individuals in question would subsequently offer a sincere apology. However, this reasoning is unconvincing. It is evident that there are more appropriate ways to demonstrate affection to a woman who is heavily pregnant at a baby shower than a video roast. It is evident that the individuals in question intended to convey their genuine sentiments, and that their statements were not mere jests. Consequently, I do not believe that my reactions are excessive. This is the optimal response. I did not request that they assume the role of host, they proffered the suggestion, but ultimately, they failed to fulfill their promise. I am disillusioned and distressed by this turn of events. A week has passed since the incident at the baby shower, and we have not spoken to Thomas's family. I had assumed that things had cooled down somewhat, but it seems that Erica is not satisfied with this state of affairs. I had not blocked anyone because I had simply forgotten that this was an option. I received a text from her early this morning, which began as follows. She proceeded to inform me that the preparations for the baby shower had not been adequately considered, and that she had been upset by my comments. She then requested an apology from me for both her and Donna, suggesting that my remarks had been inappropriate. I was taken aback by her audacity in asking for an apology, particularly given the circumstances of the day. In particular, given the manner in which they have treated me over the past few years, they never even gave me a chance to prove myself. They simply assumed that I was a gold digger without even bothering to get to know me. At least the things that I said about them were true. Erica said in her text that it was not my place to say things like that about them. If they did originate from a position of privilege, it was not my place to comment on that, which was ironic given that they had previously made it a point to remind me of my background. Now, however, they were the same people who were saying that it was none of my business where they came from. To them, my being poor was an actual problem, and they were unable to accept the fact that I was not as wealthy as they were. The fact that I did not come from a financially wealthy background like they did gave them the freedom to criticize me for any reason they wished. Now that they are experiencing the consequences of their own actions, they do not like it. I treated the text as a joke because I was unsure of what I was supposed to say in response. It was an entitled and I had nothing further to say, which was to be expected of Erica. I was aware that they had demanded an apology, and I probably should have responded with something sarcastic or caustic to put them in their place. However, it did not seem worthwhile to reply, as doing so would simply lead to further conflict. That was the last thing I needed. I chose to ignore the situation because Thomas was correct in his assessment that the only viable course of action was to ignore them and hope that they would cease their disruptive behavior. It is somewhat disheartening to realize that, despite my initial belief that we were developing a friendship over the course of my pregnancy, I was mistaken. These two individuals appear to be lacking in the social skills necessary to maintain healthy relationships with others, and their interactions with me were indicative of this. I have not yet informed Thomas of this development, as he has not yet returned from work. However, I intend to do so as soon as he does, and to solicit his input on the matter. I have not discussed this with Eric since the previous update, which was several days ago. I recognize that this is an unfortunate necessity, given his evident distress. Nevertheless, I am compelled to do so, and to engage in a constructive dialogue with him regarding the best course of action moving forward. It is imperative that we discuss this matter and come to a conclusion about what we can do about his family and whether they should be allowed to have a relationship with the baby. We must address this issue and talk about them now. Update 3. My last update was just a couple of hours ago, and it feels unusual to be back so soon, but this is important, and I need to talk about this, so here I am. Thomas, I talked about Erica and her text after dinner. Once he was well rested and well fed, he inquired as to whether he believed they should be permitted to interact with the infant once the child's arrival was imminent. Given the current circumstances and the ongoing tensions with his family, he was reluctant to maintain contact. He advocated for a complete cessation of communication until such a time as they demonstrated a willingness to apologize for their actions. After a period of reflection, he asserted that the decision was mine alone, given that I was the one who had been subjected to their disrespect. Consequently, I was left to determine whether they should be permitted to remain in my life and that of the infant. While he personally would prefer to maintain communication with his family and attempt to resolve our differences, he recognized that it was not his place to make that decision for me. I was therefore given the autonomy to make the decision. He did have a point. Additionally, Thomas also mentioned, I was the one who was pregnant and experiencing significant distress. Therefore, it was his responsibility to ensure that I was adequately supported. Currently, his new family was his primary concern. Consequently, he deferred to my discretion regarding his family. I informed him that I would take some time to reflect and then communicate my decision. Ultimately, it is premature for me to make a decision at this juncture. Update 4. I have made my decision. I am disinclined to permit Thomas's erratic family to interact with me or my child. I was initially amenable to extending them the benefit of the doubt, but I have since concluded that they are incapable of change. Consequently, I do not wish for my child to be exposed to them in any capacity. Today, Thomas had a day off and was staying at home with me to spend some quality time. This was a fortuitous occurrence for me. All three, Erica, Donna, and Raymond, showed up at my house to have a discussion with me about my behavior. They claimed that they were there to discuss things, but it felt more like an ambush. I was fortunate to have Thomas there to support me. I was fortunate to have Thomas present, as he effectively diffused the situation by instructing the other individuals to leave. Erica was the most agitated, and I could hear her arguing with him on the front steps. She was adamant that the only reason they had ever doubted my intentions was because they were concerned for his well-being, given my lack of financial stability. They believed that I might be a gold digger, which is why they have been so critical of me. I was enraged and considered confronting them directly on the porch, but Thomas handled the situation with remarkable composure and effectively refuted their arguments. He resorted to name-calling, which was a rather unproductive tactic. I informed them of my displeasure and even informed them that when the baby was born, they would not be permitted to see any of us because of their disrespectful and blatant disregard for boundaries. After a couple of minutes, Raymond intervened and informed Thomas that he was cutting him out of the family until he eventually came to his senses and divorced me, claiming that I was leading him away from his family. He then left, and Thomas seemed relieved when he returned to me. We spent the rest of the afternoon simply talking and making fun of everyone behind their backs. In light of these circumstances, I would say that this was a great day, and I am quite content with how things turned out.